Alright, Chapter 10, Track Fittings and Fastenings. Let's just check this. Alright, Chapter 10, as you notice, the copyright materials at Oxford University. Why they're pressing Indian Railways, I don't know. Chapter 10, Track Fittings and Fastenings. Introduction provided for the fittings and fastening of railway tracks to hold the rails in proper position in order to ensure the smooth running of the train. These fittings and staff fastenings are of use to joining rails together as well as fixing them to sleepers. Serve the purpose so well over the alignment and level in alignment with the gauge of the railway tracks to maintain with the permissible limits even during the passing train. The important fittings and fastenings commonly used in the Indian listed or table 10.1. Joining rail to rail, fish plates, combination fish plates, bolts and nuts. Joining rail to wooden sleeper dog spikes, the pang bolts, screw spikes, and bearing plates. Joining rail to steel and trough the sleeper to loose jaws and keys and liners. Joining rail to the cast iron sleeper, the tie bars and cotters. The electrical fasteners to be used for the concrete, steel, wooden sleeper, the electrical pandoral, iron, 202 clip, HM fastenings, MSI inserts, rubber pads, and nylon liners. None of the various fittings of the fastening required a pair of sleeper, the ordinary conventional fastening, as well as elastic fasteners, the different type of sleeper summarized in Table 10.2 with the wooden type of the sleepers for the ordinary fitted per sleeper, the dog screw, spikes, the keys for the cast iron bearing plates, numbers, dog spikes 8, screw spikes 8, cast iron bearing plate 4, elastic fastener per sleeper, the cast iron bearing plates 2, plate screws 8, Pandora clips 4, the rubber pads for 2. Concrete non-ordinary fastening, Pandora clips, nylon liners, rubber pads, cast iron inserts 4, steel trough keys 4, loose jaws 4, with Pandora modified loose jaws 4, Pandora clips 4, rubber pads 2, CTS plates 2, tie bar 1, cotters 4, keys 4, Pandora clips 4, rubber pads 2. All these fittings fastening together on other ancillary features as discussed in the chapter rail 10.1 rail to rail fastenings involve the use of the fish plates, both for the screen rolling joints. Rolling in here with the detailed description of theirs given in the following section 10.1.1 fish plate. The name of the fish plate derived from the fish plate selection with the fitting with the figure 10.1 with the joint function of the fish plate to hold the two rails together to both horizontal and vertical planes. The fish plate manufactured usually a special type of the Indian Railway specification T157 with the comparison position given below the carbon 0.3 to 0.42%, magnum not more than 0.6%, silicone not more than 15 hundredths of a percent, sulfur phosphorus no more than 600 of a percent. Fish plate, joint, and fish bolt and rail. Okay. So that's basically a rail joint. They call it a fish plate. The steel U of the fish plate should have minimum tensile strength of 5.58 for the 6.5 tons per centimeter of the measurement of elongation of the 20% fish plates are designated to have the roughly same strength as the rail section, and such for the section to air of the two fish plate connecting the rail ends. The kept about the same that the rail section fish plate does not go as deep as the rail. The strength of the pair of the fish plates is less than the rail section. About 55% of the vertical bending of this taken into the consideration. Fish plates are designed at fish angle, the top of the bottom, the surface of the coincide with the rows of the rail section to allow the perfect contact with the rail shown in figure 10.2 with the details of standard fish plate used on the Indian Railway, the different railway section given in table 10.3. Alright, 10.2 shows the fish plate at 90R rails. The fish plate with 1.1 and 6 fish bolts. Detailed standard fish plate, 52 kilograms, 90 weight 28.7, 60 millimeters or 24 inches. Length from center of the hole 6.5 inches. Diameter of the fish bolt 27 millimeters. We're going to read the 90R. 071 and 059 millimeters, 26.11 to 1954. Weight per carriage 610 inch, 24 inches, 18 inches, 6.5 inches, 4.5 inches. Diameter of fish bowls 27 millimeters, 75 and 75 R's, 60 M, 35.58, 13.58 kilograms for 16.5 inches, 4 inches minimum, 27 feet diameter fish bolt. 60 and 50 R with a 96 millimeters, 1898 millimeter M, 9.98, 8.31, 16 inches fish plate total length, 4 inches center of this hole, 24 and 20 millimeter fish bolt holes. Alright, combination fish plates. Combination junction fish plates are used to connect the rail to the two different sections. They designed to cover the rail section at either end of the adequate joint point of the center of the rail section. As changed with now the design feature for these junction fish plates eliminate the expansion gap in order to give them more tensile strength. In spite of the varying depth of the combination fish plate used for the fitting of the 52 gram, the 90R, the 90R, and the S75R, 75R, and 60R, the Etc. rail section of the eve of the joint function fish place provide with the common top type of the two rail section they join. Uniform system of the making of the existing nomenclature adapted for each of the junction fish plate with the proper identification. Fish plates are marked on the right in and right out, left in, left out, depending on the other upon their position, respective direction. Letter rail with a heavier shown in figure 10.4 would indicate that any difficulty obtaining the combination of fish plate the following the alternative arrangement can be made. Alright, right out, left in, right in, lighter rail direction and heavier. Alright, combination fish plate dimensions, rail top, heavier rail section, 4.58 millimeters. No expansions allowed, lighter rail section. Right in, right out, left out, right rail, heavier rails. First composite railway normally with length but not less than 4 millimeters and prepare for the welding together two rail pieces with a different rail section. This composite rail is inserted with the rail in loop with the combination of the fish plate. The normal fish plates are joined with the composite rail pieces of the rail the length of the either side with the having rail section identifying that of the composite rail piece. 10.2. Fitting of the wood sleepers. Rail fixed of the wooden sleepers with the help of the simple type of the fastening such as the spikes and screws and bearing plate. The dog spikes, the fasten name with the dog spike because the head of the spike looks like an ear of the dog. The dog spikes are used with the fixing rail for the wooden sleeper. The number of the dog spikes normally used with the fowls. On straight track of the 2 and 1 on either side dually staggered. On the curved track 3 2 on the outside, 1 on the inside. Joint sleeper with the wedges 4 2 outside 2 inside. The dog spike with a 16 millimeter square section of the length varies depending on the location of the space in the table 2. Given in table 10.4. Details of the dog spike. Location of the dog spike. The broad gauge point of the crossing 160 millimeters, 6.5 inches. The very broad gauge track of the center plate bearing plate. The meter joints point with the crossing 135 millimeters, 6.5 on 37.5 inches. Meter gauge of the cannon bearing plate. The narrow gauge point with the crossing is 120 millimeters, 4.7 inches. Meter gauge tracking with the bearing plate. The narrow gauge with the without bearing plate. The 110 or 4.5 inches. Broad bearing gauge with track without the bearings 124.75 inspection. Round spikes. The round spikes are also used with the anti-creep bearing plate with the fix of the rant to the sleeper. They are also used with the fixing for fixing a sum of the switch onto the wood and slip of the round spike of the round section with the diameter 8 millimeter in the length depending on the product. Preserve of the round spikes have to be obsolete now. 10.2 3 fang bolts are employed with under the switch of the fastening slide chair with the sleeper. They are also used in the location of the which where the guards is preserved. Side elevation, top plan, bottom plan, dog spike, round spike, fang bolt. 10.2 screw spikes. In Indian railways developed the screw spike with a diameter of 20 millimeters to be 20 and 22 millimeters to use the high-speed main track of the route in order to increase the lifespan of the wooden sleep. With the screw spikes with a diameter of 20 millimeters are called plate screw. Where you use the plate for the round spikes, the fixing rails to sleeper to help the anti-creep the bearing of the plate. While the screw spikes are a diameter of 22 millimeters, and they're called rail screws, are used to directly fasten the rail to the sleeper as well without using the bearing plate. They are also called the bridges and platform liners. Plate rail screws which should be preferred to round and dog spikes in order to conserve life with the wooden sleepers. 10.2.5 the bearing plates. Bearing plates are used for the fixing wood sleeper with the rail. The different type of the bearing plates and used for the Indian railways are described below. Fish of the rail screw, and 20 another rail screw. Mouth steel cant bearing plates. Metal steel cant bearing plates are also used on joint curve to provide better bearing areas of the rail. They can't of the 1 to 20 group of the center for the preventing rock mills. Mild steel canted bearing plates and the only round hole for the sanction for the use of the railways. These normal size kind of bearings are 260 millimeters, 220 millimeters, 18 by 18 millimeters for 52 kilograms. The 90R rails, figure 10.7. This shows the canted MS bearing plate of the 90R. Shows the shoulder. The 8 millimeter dog holes and spikes. Flat MS bearing plates. The MS bearing plate is used with the point for the crossing lead portion of the turnout. No can is provided with this bearing plate, with the side of the bearing plate of 260 millimeters, 20 millimeters, 19 millimeters by 52 kilograms, and 90R railroads, figured 10.8. This shows the flat MS bearing plate. Cast iron anti-creep bearings. The cast iron anti-creep bearing plates provide wooden sleep at the location of the rail where they likely develop the creep of the bearing plates. If the 1 in 20 can be fixed using normal round spikes. The fixing of the bearing plate is 285 millimeters, 205 millimeters for the broad gauge track for the figure 10-12. This is the CI anti-creep bearing plate. The two-way key jaw and Special CI bearing plate for the B8 broad high with broad ball-headed rail. Special instruction bearing plates are used for fixing ball-headed rails. The rail is held in position with the help of the spring key. Figure 1010. CI bearing for the bull-headed rail. Spring key space for the steel wedge jaw and holes of the spike. Alright, 10.3. The fitting of the steel sleeve of the fittings require the metal sleeper different from the UFG of the wooden sleeper. The lotion of the jaw key with the rubber pad is fixed with the fixture rail of the steel sleeper. Loose jaws. The loose jaws are key value used for the holding the rail with the seal through the trough. They sleep together, roll the trap of the trough, sleep with the easily damaged cracked form and do the provision of the press slab plug. The problems have been solved in introducing shrink seal, the loose jaws, which have been standardized on the Indian railways. These jaws can be easily replaced whenever necessary. They are manufactured using spring seal weighing about 100 weighs of 100 lost jaws is approximately 28.8 kilograms. Or spring steel loose jaw. Two-way keys. Two-way keys are universally used for fixing throughout the spot with the possible sleep of the CTS sleep with all the two-way tablets provided in both tap and the two-way key with the touch of the key of the key can be driven in either direction. The keys are manufactured with a special rolled section. Length of the key of the broad gauge is about 190 millimeters with the tape of the 1 to 13 and 1 inch and 31 and 32. The gauge variation of 30 plus or minus 3 millimeters can be adjusted to the alternating extent of these keys are driven in. Various methods of driving the key are different from the type of the sleepers are listed in Table 10.5. Rubber coated epoxy coated with fish plates. Sometimes the back of the rubber coated fish plate will be used with the insulated joints of the Indian Railways on trial basis. Result indicate that the fish plates could be get damaged or easy early in surface, thereby limiting their life. Therefore, epoxy coated fish plates are now being tried. 10.3 motor sign liner. The hole from the trough is leap of the gate in line during the surface due to the wear of the tear in the cuff. The account of the moving load with the motor sign liner of this liner used to effectively loosen the jaw, overcoming the problem of the elongated holes. Alright, two-way keys. Section XX, end of the elevation. Method of driving keys, single line CPS sleeper the fish plate with SW and short welded and long welded rail tracks. All the keys of one sleeper should be driven in the same direction. Keys on alternating sleeper should be driven in the reverse direction. Steel trough sleepers all type of the tracks. The outer key for the sleeper should be driven in one direction. The inner keys on alternate sleepers should be driven in the opposite direction. Wooden sleeper anti-creep bearings with a single key operation. All keys should be driven in the same direction. Keys should be driven in the reverse direction. Alternate sleepers anti-creep bearings from the double key configuration. Outer keys on the sleeper should be in one direction. The inner key for the opposite direction. The pattern driven the key should be reversed and alternating sleepers. Double line CTS sleeper the fish plate with this short welded rail track with the direction of 75 with the key within the direction of the traffic to 25% with the opposite direction. Long welded rack of the track of the non-bearing length with the 75 key should be driven in the direction of the traffic. 25% should be driven in the opposite direction. Long welded rack track breathing length with all the keys should be driven in one direction. Sleep with the opposite direction of the next sleeper. The same scheme should be followed up in subsequent sleepers. The ST sleeper fish plate with the short welded rail. 75 sleepers should have the all to 4 key driven in the direction of the traffic. 25% of the sleeper should have the key driven in the direction opposite of that of the track. Long welded rail track the non-breathing length. 75% of the sleeper should have 4 keys in the direction of the traffic. 25% of the sleeper should have all the keys driven in the direction opposite to that of the traffic. Long length welded rail track within breathing length. 2 inner keys should be driven in one direction, 2 and the others in the other direction. Also, the direction of the key should be reversed in alternating sleepers so that preventing relatively movement of the rail and sleeper. Alright, 1013 is the motor side liner, all dimensions in millimeters. 10.4 fittings of the cast iron sleeper. The rails are fixed with the cast iron sleeper using cotters and tie bar. The fittings are described below. The cotters are used to make fixing the tie bar with the cast iron. The cotters are classified according to their methods of splitting. The 4 different types of the cotters begin with the using Indian railways as follows. You have your center split cotter 2I1, side splitter cotter 243, solid end split cotter 24423, bent end cotter 24424. MS cotters are all dimensions in millimeters. Center split, counter side split, center solid end split cotter, bent end plate cotter. Overall dimension tapered over the 4 cotters are large identically. Only the difference of the method is splitting of the length of the cotter is 150 millimeters, for the approximate weight is of 1/8 of a pound per piece. MS tie bars. MS tie bars for holding the two blades of the CTS sleeper them together with the normal length of the tie bar 2720 millimeters. The broad gauge 1870 millimeters meter gauge. Section of the broad gauge tire measure for the 15 millimeters, 13 millimeters from the meter gauge for the tie bar measure for the 445 millimeters and 10 millimeters. 10.5. Elastic fastening. The primary purpose of fastening the fix of the rail with the sweep of the rail may be to fix either directly or indirectly with the help of the fastening of the profit. The fastening of the getting is subject to the strong vertical, lateral, and longitudinal forces. The force of the predominantly dynamic increase rapidly with increasing load, with the speed with additional vibration for the generator of the moving loads, mainly on the account of the geometrical irregularity of the track, due to the force set up with the imbalance of the rolling stock of the traditional rigid fastening, which so far has fulfilled the task of a certain extent with no longer able to effectively meet the present challenge of the heavy dynamic force, therefore becoming loose under the impact of the high frequency vibrations ordered the 800 to 1,000 cycles per second, even at the moderate speed of the 100 kilometers per hour. In fact, the type of the fastening is unable to hold the rail sleeper firmly for the satisfactory length of the time because of the constant pressure exerted with the moving loads due to the shock of the vibration caused by the moving loads. Rigid fasteners become loose. The interplay between the components, the track development, and the track parameters get affected. The rapid deterioration of the track begins. To solve these problems, fastening, which could be safeguarded track parameters, dampening the vibration is required. This has led to the development of the elastic fastening. 10.5.1 Requirement of elastic fastening. Ideal elastic fastening should meet the following requirements. It should have the gauge firmly in place, should have the adequate low lead, which should not reduce the undersurface. It should be properly sufficient and elastic to absorb the vibration shocks caused by moving loads. It should be keeping the track well maintaining other adequate resistant lateral forces in order to maintain the stability of the track. It should provide adequate resistant longitudinal force with the result of the acceleration moving load with other miscellaneous factors. The longitudinal force to tend to cover the development of the creep in the track. It should be to fit with the forget type of this requires the less maintenance. It should not be less than property for the even when it is used over and over. There should be the few parts as possible. These parts should be easy to manufacture and maintain. Should be removable. That once fitted and cannot be taken out, as if such should be not vulnerable to sabotage or theft. Should be universally applicable so they can be used with wooden and steel and concrete. Sleep with it should be cheap and long and lasting. Type of elastic flanges. Elastic fastenings are usually the form of a clip. There's various types of clips have been developed and over the years, but they're discussed here in detail. The Pandrol clip of the Pandrol clip, the PR401 clip that is known as the elastic rail clip, the figure 1015 standard for the type of elastic fastening that used in any railway earlier manufactured. Master Guest Keen Williams is in fit and together type of the fastening that requires very little attention toward the maintenance. This clip is made with a silicone magnesium spring steel bar with a diameter of 20.6 millimeters, heat treated, exert the tow load of 710 kilograms, nominal deflection of 11.4 millimeters. The tow load is adequate to ensure that no relative of the movement is possible between the rail and another sleep of the pendrel complete. The pendrel clips can be derived with the help of the ordinary 4-pound hammer, requiring no special tool in order to ensure the correct tow load that is exerted. The pendrel clips should be driven in such extent with the outer leg with the clip is flush with the outer face of the cast iron insert. The figure 10-16 shows an isometric view of the clip fixed on the rail, with the 10-17 shows the clip fixed to a rail seat. Or the Pandrol classic clip is elastic rail clip, and this is isometric Pandrol clip on the cast iron sheet. Pandora clips fixed to the rail seat. The Pandora elastic can be fixed with a wooden, steel, cast iron, concrete sleepers with the help of the place plate with some of the ancillary fitting of the Pandora clip. Most widely used with the slip of this concrete sleeper of the Indian Railway. Therefore, it becomes imperative that the detailed account with the same to be given. Concrete sleeper with the Pandora elastic. In the case of the concrete sleeper, the malleable cast iron insert the punch directly into the sleeper during the manufacture. The Pandora clip is fixed with the holes of the cast iron insert with the 4.5 mix thick groove. The rubber pads provided with the under the rail seat making it duly elastic. Insulated liners provide necessary information. Figure 1014. Alright, this has the double Pandora clip and resilient malleable iron slot shoulder. Drawbars and Pandora clips offer the following the drawbacks, thereby used to making the adjustment of the gauge and path of the Pandora clip has been point of the contact caused the indentation on the foot of the rail due to the heavy tow load of the small contact area. It does not provide enough safeguard with the theft of sabotage because it can be easily taken out of the use of the ordinary hammer because it gets and keeps the malleable cast iron insert during services. Alright, your tow load measuring device. This device consists of a lever made of silicone, magnesium, steel, and designed prior grip of the Pandora rail slip slips toe with the issue of the magnet junction with a suitable block which fitted with the railhead of the axle of the fulcrum. To operate the device is forced and gradually applied to handle the reading of the dial gauge of the surface of the Pandora clip to do the just lifted over the rail is seated denoted the reading of the dial gauge that indicates the tow load with a pre-calibrated in laboratory. Or the Iron 202 clip with this elastic fastener designed by the Railroad Design Safety Organization to suit the two black Research Design Safety Organization to suit the two black reinforced concrete sleeper clip of the manufactured Republic Forge with the hybrid hydrobed using silicone magnesium steel bar diameter 18 millimeters suitable heat treated with the brimnel hardness of the 375 to 415. They assembled the design with a tow load of 1,000 kilograms, total deflection of 18.5 millimeters. Assembly of the clip with the creep resistance generally equal to 50% of the total tow load of the rail. This shows your Iron 202 clip. Flip essentially consists of the outer leg for the connected to the mean of the two coils with the head held in position with the bolt and clamp arrangement. The clamp is made with the same material clip. The bolt was diameter of the 19 millimeters made with the steel. The clip hold with the track gauge easily and effectively the inner legs over the rest of against the bottom flange of the rail to provide elastic gauge for check. After the clips are placed in the position, the motor nut is tightened to press the inner legs of the respective toe. These touch of the sleeper the surface of the stage depends on the design of the tow load. Tow load deflection at this sign. It is not possible to tighten any nut. Any further nut will remain in position quite some time as the tension in bolts does not vary much during the summer. The advantage of the Iron 202 clip is that the rail to be changed with the removal of the fastening, simple of loosening the bolt, pushing the rail out. However, the Iron clip at the surface of the following drawback: the corrosion on the highly stressed part of the heel. The assembly can be relieved with the development of the cracks not fit with the forget with the fastening with the requirements. Frequently, attention such as the oiling, tightening of the nuts to maintain the required tow load is comparatively costlier and heavier clip. Lock spikes are manufactured with a Mazda lock spike limited to London for the use of the wooden sleeper. The lock spike type of the LG20 has been tried on the Indian Railways. It is 165 or 6.5 long spike, the rounded section diameter 5 1/8 of an inch. The side of the hole is bored in the sleeper of 14 millimeters, 12 millimeters with hardwood, the softwood respectively. Then the spike, which appears to have the good feature and still under the trial. Double shank elastic spike and your lock plate. Or spring steel clip. The large number of the spring steel clip, figure 21, supplied with the moisture of the Betzer and Getzer Kings William have been tried with the Indian Railways. The assembly consists of a double elastic fastening and pre-stressed concrete sleeper. The assembly of the rail rests with a grooved rubber pad with the head vertically with a pair of the spring clips on each rail seat. The clip is pressed with the help of the nut and tightened it at 22 millimeters. A bolt with the insert with the underside with the sleeve of the clip is manufactured using EN48 steel. Nut is tightened on the torque of the 100 foot-pound to obtain the resistance of 1 ton per pair of clips. The clip is still in the experimental stage of the Indian Railways. Show the spring washer, spring steel clip, elastic rail clip MK33. The Railroad Design Safety Office Organization Rail Research Design Officer Safety Organization design new type of elastic rail clip known as the ER MK3, which suits both the 52 kilogram and 60 kilogram rails along with 6 millimeter thick rubber. The pads in case of the 60 kilogram rails, 2 liners of 60 millimeter thickness are used, whereas in the case of 50 kilogram railroads, no liner of 16 millimeter thickness is used with the down gauge side. On the other liner with the 10 millimeter thickness is used on the gauge side of the clip, and also be used with the 6 millimeter thick rubber pads placed on the usual 4.5 thicker rubber pads existing in the 52 kilogram PRC sleepers. Our last 2 years of the manufacturer stamped here. This is your Pandora clip, ERC clip MK3. The ARC MK3 clip has been modified to the standard elastic rail clip with the extent with the distance of the toe of the clip to increase the respect of the center leg of the space to cover the clip that has been modified to achieve the higher toe load. The diameter standard of the ERC has been retained to 20.6 millimeters. The new ERC MK3 with its total load of 900 to 1100 kilograms. The total deflection from the 15 millimeter of the clip is still under trial. Limitation elastic railway clip. The elastic railway clip or the Pandora clip presenting the beginning of the Indian Railway has following limitation. Elastic railway clip does not permit the 52 kilogram to be interchanged with the 60 kilogram rail. Therefore, whenever the traffic requirements depend the replacement of 52 kilogram rail with a 60 kilogram rail, the sleepers also have to be replaced with the coastler. These ties also have to be replaced with coastler special steel alloy rails have been to be used. The elastic rail clip can be easily removed from the track. The elastic rail clip can be jammed and trusted in insert with the 10 to be loose for the design towed load. Only fastening of the world proven to permit the interchangeable 52 kilogram rail with a 60 kilogram rails. The HM fastening, the German design, the NABLA fastening of the French design. The Research Design Safety Organization has recently designed elastic rail clip Mark III, which also permits interchangeable the two types of the rails, but is still in its trial stages. Or the Herber rear fastening. Fastening basically consists of 4 coach screws that tighten against the plastic dowel with the PRC slippers. Sleepers possess the HM clip assembly to give the desired tow load. Each of the clip weighs about 510 grams, giving the tow load of about 1 ton. Of the gauge is maintained with the help of the angle guided plate. The insulated shim is placed between the angle plate with the concrete sleeve of the groove of the rubber placed below the seat that provide the necessary damping effect the resistance to the lateral movement of the rails. Or the HM fastening strip, the coach grip, the HM clip, the angular guide plate, the insulator, the plastic dowel, the rubber pad, the center of the line section, rail section. The HM fastening can be used with a 52 kilogram as well as a 60 kilogram rail, with being suitable with the side of the angle guide plate with the insulation shim. Other fittings in the fastening section discuss the malleable cast iron insert, the rubber pads, composite liners, pillow for elastic fastenings. Malleable cast iron insert. The malleable cast iron insert directly fixed on the concrete sleeve during the manufacture. Malleable cast iron insert. The manufacturer according to the Indian Railway Standards for specification T3276. Insert the two types of stems. The cast iron insert. They use normal pre-test and concrete sleeve with the insert to provide the concrete sleeve being manufactured in all the concrete sleeve factories in India, except for located in Alabama. The weight of the same insert. The insert with 1.6 kilogram per piece. The gate type of the malleable cast iron insert. The post tension concrete sleeve with the being of the manufactured about the approximately weight of the gate, the type of the master concrete insert inserted in the 1.7 kilogram per piece. Rubber pads. A rubber pad is an internal part of the elastic fitting of the provided between the rails and sleeve with the following instances. Shove the rubber pad and your absorb the shop damp if they absorb the vapor and resist the lateral movement of the rail to prevent the abrasion of the bottom surface of the rail, which would be otherwise come into direct contact with the sleepers. Provides electrical insulation between the rails, electrified area, individual railways. Use the groove of the rubber pad with a 4.5 millimeter thickness made with a special quality rubber to groove that aids uniform distribution load of the sleeper to help to eliminate the lateral expansion of the rubber under the pressure of the dynamic loads. The Research Design Safety Organization recently designed a 6 millimeter groove rubber pad with the horns of the drag number RSD T37 for use of 60 kilogram rail. But it was noticed that the normal 4.5 millimeter thick rubber pads got crushed within 6 to 7 years. Therefore, the thicker grooved rubber pads were the surface alive with 15 to 20 years were designed particularly with the use of 60 kilogram UIC rail. These rubber pads are still under trial. Show the 6 millimeter thick grooved rubber pad. 10.6.3. Composite liner. The Indian Railways most usually now on insulating liners. These liners, however, they get crushed under the load of the tow load of the Pandora clips, limited to such premature failure of the two types of the composite liners to develop the Research Design Safety Organization composite liner, the malleable cast iron of nylon components. These composite liner with the MS nylon component for these liners have developed and based for the design of the liners adopted by the British Railway. We have reported to provide the trouble to serve the east. Serve the composite liners have been used for the Indian Railway for the last few years and are serving the railway well. Grass-filled nylon liners. The Research Design Safety Organization developed the grass-filled liner 9 liners, 4 millimeter thickness, particularly with the track circular area of the section subject to serve the corrosion. The 3 glass-filled nylon liners are considerable technical superior to other liners because they are single piece and have longer life and are free from the corrosion. The liners are usually extensive for the Indian Railways, particularly with elastic resistant clips. Assembly with the 60 kilograms, 52 kilograms of PRC sleepers. Figure 26 of the glass-filled 9 liner. The notice of the GFN 966 liners attended particularly in the yards where the lines have to be prevented with the ERC clip to assemble the concrete sleepers. This has been due in the rusting of the rail surface and even the seating of it to avoid the breakage of the GFN 66 liner. The necessary proper precautions can be taken during the initial laying of the ensure the rail surface is free of the rust, etc. The liners are fitted evenly in 1 to 6 sloping surfaces of the rail planes. The new design of GFN 66 liners of thickness of the 6 millimeters has recently been developed and expected with an inserter, shorter, and provided with better service life. 1064 pilfer-proof elastic fastenings on concrete slab. The present design of the elastic fitting of the pandrel clip is such that it can be easily removed with a single stroke of the hammer. A new type of elastic rail clip, which is pilfer-proof, has recently developed. The railroad research and design safety office for the pilfer-proof elastic fastening. Maybe the defined elastic fastening system, which is easy to fit and the assembly to be difficult to remove without the damage of the system. The design pilfer-proof elastic rail fastening consists of the clip of almost the same design as the normal elastic fastening, as well as the new fitting known as the pilfer-proof of the curl clip. The curl clip is the standard mechanical component manufactured according to the eye specification, generally usually for the restraining of the axle movement of the components mounted on the shaft. R10-7, the testing of the fastening. Both elastic and rigid fastenings are tested in the laboratory for the suitability of the field. The vibrogiver pulsator are used to test these fittings. The vibroger is used in the laboratory to check the effectiveness of the various fastenings to help with equipment if possible to produce the high-frequency vibration in the laboratory variable. Very simply, to produce the real track by amplifying the frequency 50 Hz for the railway. Sleeper made to vibrate at a rate of 7 to 800 Hz, which is accelerating at 7 grams amplitude order of 0.10 to 0.3 millimeters 1 hour. Working with the Weberger corresponds to almost 4.05 gross million tons of traffic. 300 hours of work creates the same effect of the fastening as 20 years of service under the normal track conditions. The pulsator not only simulates the vibrations just like of the Weberger, but also implies the vertical lateral pressure of the railway fastening frequency of 250 to 500 cycles a minute. Test carried out with the help of the Webergers and pulsator clearly established the superiority of elastic fittings over the rigid fastenings. Summary: fitting holding rail with the position helps to provide with a smooth ride with the fish blades for both of the used to join the rail within surface of series, which the different type of the fastenings are used to fix these rails. Sleeper, the traditional rigid type of the fastenings are not able to make the challenge posed with the heavy dynamic forces because of the low under high frequency vibration. The elastic fastenings are found to be very suitable with the high speed traffic. The new design of the elastic fittings being developed to overcome as many drawbacks as possible. Chapter 11, Creep of the Rails.